Grazia.
Your great-grandmother was married.
My great-grandmother.
Great-grandmother. Maternal or paternal?
So my grandmother, she got married, this woman de Grazia got married, and she had a daughter who was my grandmother, who was a de Grazia. Her husband died, so she remarried a man called Greco, who was a stepsister to my grandmother. Okay, you got that much?
Sort of. To try and map, maybe.
Betty's grandmother and my grandmother are half-sisters.
Wow. Wow.
So, because when she remarried, she married Greco, who emigrated to Chicago, and he had brothers and sisters that were Greco that lived in Chicago, who were related to us, and there was 4 or 5 sisters and a couple of brothers. So Betty and I are third cousins once removed. And when we got married, we didn't know all this until we were getting ready to get married. When we got married, our little attorney friend was in town. Her father, Marie Colombo, and she was from Chicago. And so she went to Phoenix, and we went to Phoenix to find out if we could get married, because in those days, a black and a white couldn't marry, or a Chinaman and a white couldn't marry.
But you're 2 Italians.
Here, this is in Arizona.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's 2 different dialects, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyhow, so we got married. How we got married was, I didn't know beans about any of these people. And my Uncle Sam, who had the newsstand downtown.
What was that called?
Post Office News.
Post Office News.
Downtown Tucson.
Mm-hmm. Right across the street from
Right
Post
across
Office.
the street.
Okay.
Now it's a courthouse.
Where the
Congress.
courthouse is today on Scott Street.
Uh-huh.
Are you familiar with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Well, he had a newsstand, one of these newsstands where he used to roll out the papers and hang them on the wall. You see pictures of them. He had a newsstand like that, all through the war and before the war and all through the war. Anyhow.
Wait, what was his name?
Sam.
Sam.
Coppola.
Was my father's brother.
Coppola.
Yeah. And he called me one day. When I came home from the service, I bought this big old Packard car. And I had just been out of the service a while, and he called me over one day, and he said, "Ed, would you go to the train station?" People didn't fly in those days. My cousin Josephine's coming to town with her daughter to visit, and she was a bolero. And I said, "Damn, Uncle Sam, every time somebody comes to town, I have to go and pick them up at the goddamn station." And I got so mad, I pulled away from there. The old Roscrooge Hotel is still there. It's got those pillars, and I pulled half of my bumper off. Well, it was Betty and her mother came to town, and to visit my Uncle Sam. He had a little ranch out in the country, And you were in town how many weeks? 2 weeks? 2 or 3 weeks. By the time they left, Betty and I had decided to get married.
Sweet.
So they went back to Chicago. I stayed here for a while. Got some stuff. I just got out of the army. Went back to Buffalo because I hadn't been back to Buffalo, and I had some of my clothes and personal stuff that I left there when I left there in 1942 to go to the service. So I went back to visit my grandma with my big old Packard, and then on the way back to Tucson, I picked up Betty and her mother. I brought my grandma and my Aunt Carmela and her best friend, Jeanette, because Jeanette was going to be our matron of honor when we got married. And I brought them back to Tucson. And
How many people is that?
In April, and we got married in August.
Sweet. How romantic.
And we've been married for 65 years.
62.
62 years.
That's impressive.